it's not today, maybe it's next week, but that you have been working on that you think would be interesting to this group that you want to bring forward? Or if you're not sure, maybe unmute and just say like, hey, I've been working on something in this space. Is there something interesting there to anyone?
Well, you know what I could do? Mm, Hey, I have more of a question, and maybe I can throw my hand up for it next week if it's of interest to
Yeah.
people. Did anybody listen to uh, the Lance Martin podcast with Swix?
I haven't yet. Elaborate. What was cool? What was about it?
Yeah, I'm really interested. They covered a lot of stuff in there, but one of the things that they talked about briefly was caching. And so I've built an application for myself. It's like a knowledge management system, just something very basic, kind of replaces Roam or Obsidian or Notion. And I I migrated everything over to SQLite so that when people download the application, it kind of seeds an SQLite database as the back end of the knowledge management system. But I've been trying to, I'm a pretty entry level engineer, so I've been trying to custom build caching into the system so that if somebody's interacting with a chat agent, it caches any of their nodes. For example, if they're asking questions about a podcast that they've imported into the system, it'll cache any of the relevant chunks. But I didn't realize until Lance and Swix spoke that the model providers have been auto caching. Is anybody familiar with that?
What do
So
you
I,
mean by yeah? What
oh,
do you
I was
mean?
going to say, my understanding is this is related to, so I haven't listened to the podcast, so straight up, but I know this is an area of active sort of investigation. Starting with the sort of Anthropic APIs gave us tools for caching on their side, but didn't, to my understanding, we're not auto caching. And then my sense is the reason, if I understood correctly, that OpenAI built the responses API was to enable auto caching. And so, correct, I don't know if that was the subject of the podcast in this particular case or what, but that's my guess is they're trying to figure that out because that is a huge benefit.
Yeah, so it turns out like this is from my surface level research. So if you're interacting with an LLM or you're using the API, the new responses API, it does auto cache, but it only saves you 50%. Anthropic only caches if you specify in the header, and then Gemini have a different caching system, but it's massive. Like the application that I built, the caching is like a nearly 10x price reduction in tokens. So it's massive, and then it's also quite like what they actually catch to cache is quite sporadic. So I'm interested if anybody else has tried to build that into a system or if they've played around with it. If not, it's probably worth somebody. I'm happy to try to do it this week to spin up a notebook just to see what's actually happening with the providers now, and the new models and the
Yeah, I think
responses.
that would be fascinating. So can I sign you up for next week? Um,
Great point.
what's your Discord handle, just to make sure?
Let me double check. I'll check and I'll drop it in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it. Yikes, are you set? Figure out a thing
I'm
to go?
I'm not set, but I will, I guess, share something. I've been doing a little over in my server. We've been doing a little uh 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 thing that's very similar to AI in action on Wednesdays. And last week, I just had a friend come through who's working on a new like kind of Claude Code-ish. But it's for like long horizon stuff. So I just told it like, hey, can you look through the repo and the GitHub and all that stuff, and then give me a markdown document of what CI/CD is like here. And then I'm gonna move that document over and then put it in my little demo thing here. So give me like 2 seconds. Let me move that over and then I can do that. But the long horizon agent, I guess I'll leave a link to, which is at randomlabs.ai. Let's see. Sweet. Okay, cool. Let me back up there. Put out of this probably. CI/CD setup. Okay. MD or CPU. Box. CI/CD setup, and then we're gonna take that to. Where did this go? Okay, this is gonna go. It's gonna go up. Okay, cool. There we go. Let's see. So yeah, I guess like a decent prompt starting point for like a discussion of sorts could be in terms of like code quality checks, like automated kind of pipeline level stuff to help keep your agents and your team all on the same reels. What do you guys use, if anything? Would be my inquiry to start us off here. Like linters, formatters, GitHub actions you find useful, et cetera, et cetera.
So a thing that we've been sort of using very limited amounts of formatters, but one of the things we've been talking about doing is doing much more extensive linting on our side. So using like biome on the TypeScript side, I think is one of the things Manuel was digging into, and you know, the Go CI lint approach, just creating useful lints to enforce our guidelines for the LLM to use.
Exactly. What about anybody else? Do you guys like use anything that like helps keep your team in sync? That is the goal of everything I've put together on this repo, which I will go over. But I'm curious if or does anybody else use something to try and like make a uniform surface for the rest for like so the team will be on the same page about these things kind of thing. Or do we just like YOLO all our own unique tool chains and there isn't
YOLO
anything
it all. YOLO it all. I mean, I think
impressive?
there's formatting stuff. There's also just like we push much more towards typing now. So type checks of different sorts. I don't know if that's
Hmm.
a part of this, but like making sure that, you know, for example, we have a bunch of code that's still in Ruby, and the stuff that we're actively developing with the LLM, we've added sorbet. It's a pain in the ass. I don't like it. It's not a great type check system. Like Go's types are much better and they're built in, but like if there are places where you have that optional, making, you know, we use TypeScript instead of JavaScript, things like that. I think that's also very important for providing those sort of feedback loops to LLM code gen.
Absolutely. No, yeah, I probably should more go towards types, but I kind of want uh at least for my goal. So like one of the things, a way that I think in the ideal world, especially if we're all like driving agents and they're all pushing to the same like ideally all of those PRs that are good would like to get filtered for goodness and end up in main eventually. And typing is part of that in my opinion, but what would be really or what seems really cool to me would be if in terms of the like if every formatter that was used on this code base was always the same formatter, no matter who was using it. And if everybody that was getting feedback from their LSP was getting repo specific team uniform LSP feedback, that kind of thing. And so typing is part of that, i.e., if there is an LSP yelling at you because you're using the wrong type, both you and me will get the identical message at the identical line that is showing the identical error and code convention. So to that end, I have a setup that relies primarily on two tools that I'm setting up in the team repo. And then my plan for like this next week or so while we're onboarding the new person is to kind of sit next to them in spirit and see if this is something that works or something that doesn't. Because the thing that I want to do is I want to kind of enforce this sort of uniformity across conventions, but I don't know if anybody's worked in a repo with like really extensive and tight CI/CD checks, and it's kind of annoying because like you'll try to push something or whatever, but you will not end up with like you'll try to push something and it'll reject, and then you have all these like errors that you don't recognize to like try and look at, and it's super annoying. So let me see if I can go here, and we can go up, and we can go up, and we'll run slates. Can you read CI/CD setup and get this repo configured with the same kind of pipeline? And we're going to do, actually, I need to change modes real quick. I'm still experimenting with this. I don't know if or how much I like it better than Claude Code or anything, but my friend who built it, I know, is really good at doing code search, among other things. And so he was like, yes, this is a CLI agent, but it's specifically for like long horizon tasks with like a general YOLO prompt. So it's just going to like keep working until it figures this out, or it needs to call me and because it's confused. So while that thing works, we can go through the document that it is going through. And so the two things that I'm primarily relying on to do this are Trunk, which is at trunk.io, and then Mise-en-Place, which is at mise.jdx.dev. Has anybody heard of either of those two tools?
Wait, I just got a little bit lost. Why did we jump over to this different coding agent? What are we using here on the left?
Oh yeah, this coding agent, this repo is not set up with this pipeline because I have that pipeline set up on the company repo, so I can't like go through that in detail. So I had this guy, hey, can you pull the CI/CD from the company repo? And then I dropped that into a doc in this repo, and I said, hey, look at this doc, and then set this repo up like the other one, so we have actual code rather than me like just yapping about what we're doing. So if it can figure that out, which it might not, we'll see. In the meantime, we can go through what it's going through, which is configuring this repo in this way, which it is not currently configured in this way. So if we don't have Trunk or Mise users in chat, do they have like a quick pitch on what this is? Yeah, in front of it. Okay, so yeah. So Mise handles three things primarily: dev tools, environments, and tasks. So if we, I guess I should stop before I get going too far. Is there, did you guys want me to tell you anything more about this repo or about this agent? Let's see. Okay, ensure pre-commit. Let's see what I'll configure. Let's see. If I may. So Austin. Sounds like a no. Just another CLI agent, but I encourage you to go check it out sometime. I left a link in chat. So what it's going to do is it's going to set up my configuration for Mise-en-Place. And what that's going to do is give us an environment manager or a toolchain manager that is like NVM or RVM or UV or PyEnv or whatever you use for Python. I don't know if there's one for Go. Is there one for Go? I'm not a Go person. But yeah, if you've used ASDF before, this is a lot like that. In fact, it uses the same backend. And what ASDF and Mise try to do is they're like, you don't need NVM or RBN or PyEnv or any of that stuff. Like, we will do your DevTool version management. We do it for all the DevTools, and you can configure the backend however you like. Mise will also handle environments. So if I want node, my command is going to be mise use node at latest. And if I want an environment variable, my command is going to be mise env variable name change. And then tasks, it is also a task runner. So if I want to run test scripts, it's going to be mise run tests. And having that, it seemed to me that having all of those configured identically across the team would be very helpful, especially if part of the team is agents, because I don't want a bunch of agent code that has your formatters pushing up to the repo at like agent velocity, and then have a different config toolchain set up. And I'm also pushing at that velocity because CI/CD is going to be a nightmare and nobody's going to want to look at those PRs. So DevTools, environments, tasks, all going to be the same. And then Trunk is sort of the addition here, which I primarily am using code quality. So this is like a meta linter. So your linters and your formatters and your error message indicators are defined in your .trunk. Let's see, let me make sure. Trunk.yaml, and let me see, do I need to use this? Back up here. Oh yeah, okay. I'll probably have what I'll configure, blah, 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 blah. Let's see, created trunk.yaml. Oh, is it H maybe? Okay, so I don't have. Okay, so it's still working on actually setting that up. Okay, so let's see, trunk, why metal linters? Yeah, so we don't want to, the idea is like, I want you to be able to go into this repo and know nothing about it. And then I want your PRs that are coming in with that are at the same level of general code quality as mine, who's been working on it for a couple of months or whatever. In order to do that, let me see if this will actually just work here. Let me grab another terminal. Let's do trunk inits. If it's at the root of a git repo, oh, because I'm trunk inits. Let's double check. I think it's because it's also working on the, okay, let's do trunk, check, all, fix. Trunk upgrade, we'll get all of our linters on the same. Let's see. Oh, he didn't fix it. Rip. Sad times. We need to fix that. So yeah, so this is like we have our linter kind of thing here, and then this will mean everybody who's in this repo will always use this. My main concern when I was like looking into implementing this was I want to have some level of uniformity enforced, but I don't want to be annoying, and I don't want to prevent you from using the tool chain that you like. So if I do just trunk with that, it can be kind of it can get in the way because you might have something in your local tool chain that you like to use, but for the requirements to get these linters up and running, Trunk might like insist on a different version of something, was kind of my concern. So I was like, okay, well, if I'm using Trunk, then if I use that in combination with Mise-en-Place, one of the things that Mise will do, let me see if there's like a configuration environments. Yeah. So one of the things we'll do is Mise will do is it will, if you want to use like normal stuff like your PNPM or you know, your whatever Ruby version you're like or whatever you can. But what this repo will have in it is it will have like an environment that when you're in this directory, it'll wrap over your environment and it'll give you the like all of these linters, etc., that are in this configuration. And then it will give you like a venv that has all of the dev tools, scripts, and the other thing that it does, I keep forgetting, dev tools, environments, and tasks. And so you can use your toolchain if you want, but this repo comes with a cool toolchain, comes with a formatter, comes with linters, etc. And when you're in here, those are always available to you. And then let me see if there is let me see if our friend here still working. Okay, cool. Setting up GitHub hooks works for me. Let me pull this a little bit so I can see. Okay, let's see. I wonder if can I do Mise install yet? Do we have a Mise Tama? We do. Okay. So this is a config file. I use Mise on my local. This is like my toolchain manager. So this works for me. And like, so in this repo, what it's going to do is it's going to make sure the environment has PNPM at the latest version. And then the other kind of reason I like this combination of things is that so we have the venv that is wrapping your tool chain, right? And you can use that if you want, but if you have your own tools, like you don't have to. But when you are pushing a PR back up to main, Trunk is going to, like, if your toolchain config has resulted in the formatting of your code that is not the same formatting as everyone else, it'll try to fix that for you, or it'll say like, hey, you can't push this unless this is the same as everyone else, which is probably something I'm going to have to dial in because I don't want that to get super annoying. But the advantage that you get out of that is two things. One of the things that Trunk does is it'll run all these. I don't want to like introduce some errors. Trunk check. Let me just do it quick. Maybe I'll just throw an agent in. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So this is an autofix is just for the MD file, right? But yeah, let's go ahead and apply that formatting. So if you are adding there we go. Okay, and then I'll get like a little report that is in a nice format. It's all pretty colors or whatever. And then I can do something like trunk check fix, auto fix everything. I'll get a nice little report of like any warnings or whatever. I'll dump that to an MD file, throw it at Claude and be like, hey, this is what's wrong. Like, are you expecting these to be wrong? Why is this adhering to your spec, et cetera, et cetera. So with that, you can kind of get into a loop where you can mostly trust that everybody's agents, if they're pushing Slop to the repo, it's all going to be the same kind of Slop, and that's going to be an indication that you need to change your repo rails, and not that like you need to try and wrangle an agent by saying more like non-deterministic human words at it. So between Trunk and Mise, on the nice thing is that this works on any machine. So it'll also work on any of the CI/CD machines to where I am running the tests, etc. Let me check, take a look at chat here real quick. Because so like Mise will wrap that environment, right? And then let me see if I can have him. Okay, cool. Excellent grouping. Okay, can you put that in place? Then can you update the README so that Mise is our toolchain and task and manager? We only use Mise commands for everything. And then also make that true. Yeah, so like between the two of these sort of like uniform environment, the uniform environment will also wrap any of the stuff that we're building on during CI/CD to do like checks to main or whatever. And one of the other things that Trunk will do nicely, which we'll check now. Let's do another Trunk check and see. And you will hopefully notice that it didn't go back and hit this again, right? So if it is already, that will happen if it's fixed, but also if I chose no and chose not to fix it, it won't, it will cache its results and only like modify things that you've actually changed. So between the env wrapper and the like uniform code quality enforcement, what you end up with, and then like also the caching, if you set up your CI/CD to also cache as much as it can, which you can also use Trunk and Mise to kind of help you do that, then like the only kind of command I ever need to teach anyone to use this repo, it starts with Mise, and there are 3 verbs: Mise use, Mise env, and Mise run. And that's all you ever use in this repo. If you want to, you can do something else that is like one of the scripts that Mise is running, which is like a TSC or something like that, or like a PNPM build, whatever. But if you would like to opt in to our uniform conformity scheme here, which eventually you will want to, because it'll get kind of annoying if you are using your own tools and it's just reformatting every single time, is my hunch. But yeah, so between those two things, the goal is to be able to always run all of the same commands, have everything that agents are making be formatted in the same way, cache everything you possibly can so you only need to rebuild things that have actually changed. And then the other, I guess like the other bit of this is kind of like a personal workflow. I think actually, Manuel, you made a really good post on x.com, the everything app, this morning about the ticket-to-repo compiler. You wanna give us your theory on what that is?
Yeah, I just gave like a recap, like the same talk I gave pretty much a year ago on ASTs and DSLs. And like I was pointing out that basically these techniques are nothing new in terms of, in terms of software engineering. But because they're so cheap now, you can kind of like, instead of doing, it was like a little quip, instead of doing like just-in-time compilation, you can do like just-in-ticket compilers. So that you have like basically, if you're working on a certain feature, you can create linter rules for just that feature and then just delete them once you're done, right? So that you have like a custom prompt that's really just for the task at hand. And then once the task is done, you just delete them, which kind of would have been unheard of before. So that was my little JIT compiler.
Yeah, at least like where I guess I'm trying to make a JIT or no JIT. The thing that I want is I want ticket-to-repo compilers. So the way that I'm setting things up is this is just like an open issue. This is one of like this will have the context, then this will be how we add a feature. and then here's our acceptance criteria, and then all our CI/CD and our tool chain will adhere to that, because the way that I'm deriving that, I wonder if I have this. This repo is something that Slate built entirely by itself, so I'm not sure if it has a spec. Yeah, it looks like it didn't use my usual workflow. But normally I use a kind of like spec to code kind of flow. And I build my CI/CD around that. So yeah, I was like, I wish my repo has, yeah, that's actually kind of what motivated me to do this, because we have my repo, which is just like one component of our services architecture. And I do a lot of like thinking and strategizing about how I can get agents to dump code into the repo, whereas Al is the counterpart of, I want to drive as many agents as possible to dump as much code into this repo as possible, as quickly as possible, and make sure it works, because we need to get this thing shipped. So hopefully this will coalesce into the Rails that I have built, not tolerating any of the potential slop that might be over there. So as we, so like if we need to just get something out right now, we can YOLO it out over there and just bash Claude into it until it works. But if it's going to end up getting merged into like the counterpart repo, which hopefully at some point will be able to kind of take over as the prod repo, and the Rails that are built on it will be such that you can throw as much slop at it as you want, and all the slop will go away when you try to PR it in, is kind of the eventual goal behind this. And the primary tools behind this are Mise and Trunk, because the sort of thing that I'm trying to do is set up those Rails or buckets in such a way that will result in enforcing that without being annoying, is kind of the goal here. So yeah, I guess I'll pause my yammering if there's any questions or anything anybody wants to like see or try, or I don't know, any thoughts, comments, questions, concerns. Which sounds like a no, I suppose. Let's see. So we've got yeah. So as you, this is the thing that I want for anybody that's like coming on and trying to onboard. It's like, hey, everything starts with Mise run. Nothing doesn't start with Mise run. If you add something, it'll convert over into a Mise kind of format. And then the other nice thing about that is, like, if you're trying, or I have a tendency to like play with all of the cool new toys, and if I find a cool new toy that's like very much working for me, it's really easy for you to try it because you already have Mise, but only when you're in this directory. So you only so you actually don't, I need to fix that part, because you actually don't need to install Trunk, because I stick the binary in version control, so you just have Trunk to start. So the only thing you need to do is run one script to install Mise, and it won't mess up the rest of your computer to just have it installed. You can start using it if you want. I'm a big fan, but you'll run that one install, and then you'll do a Trunk init, and then you'll go a Mise install, and then you will have only in this directory you'll have the same environment as everybody else. And if we're testing out tools, then I can like test them ephemerally by just like adding to mise.toml for myself, and then enforcing approvals on changes to the repo mise.toml. And then as we all kind of experiment with the toolchain that's working for us, we can sort of get on the same page of like, okay, like let's add that tool to this repo, so all of the agents and all the rest of the team can like try it out. And then if it's annoying, you just you can it's occurring to me that my enthusiasm for new dev tools is perhaps a bit over enthusiastic because I don't remember off the top of my head how to get rid of a tool that I've added to Mise, but I presume that there is a command for that in here somewhere if you experiment with something and like either you don't like it or somebody else on the team does like it, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I am pretty hopeful that between the two, we should have a pretty solid way where like as many people, whether they are humans or not humans, can do whatever they want in this repo, and only the stuff that is actually good will make it all the way in and all the way to prod, basically. So if you want to vibe code in prod, you can, and the goal is to like make sure the repo will tell you when you need to stop vibe coding and actually read the stuff, basically. Is kind of the goal. Let me see if there's a. I'm trying to think if he has like a little like a cookbook maybe. You said you're on Ruby, right, Kay? I presume yes. So like if you've got Rails, then you can, you got Ruby with the right version. Then you have all of the, you got all of these start with Mise run, and then you got test lint server install. And then like for mine, this will have all of these tests. If you want to build and run, you just set it up and clean it. If you want to manage the server, like here's the other repo has like Mise run start DB, Mise run like Mise run start front end. Oh yeah, here we have like so I think this is actually for the other repo. So like there are 3 different types of services. If you just want one, if you just want one run of one, or if you just want all 3, then you will, or if you want to run one of the things continuously, then you'll be in pretty good shape. Let's see if there is, the slate is finished up here yet. What is this? Is this? Okay, here we go. Let's see, Mise run. Yeah, so so as you can see here, now that if he can get it configured correctly, then between Trunk and Mise, if he's messing up package installations, etc., then it's going to like lock him out, etc. Okay, so quick start commands. Let's do it. Let's see. We're gonna do Mise run setup. Oh no. Okay. Let's see, trunk installation, trunk check and trunk format. Okay, well, let's see if trunk can fix this by itself. Trunk check, all, fix. Actually, I don't need to run all. Actually, I should probably just for fun. Now, I technically here, I don't think I need. Okay, and so we have all of these kind of warning, vulnerable to denial of service. Thank you, Trunk. Good find. And then Mise run setup, maybe? Okay. Mise trust, Mise install, Mise run setup. Let's double check. Mise trust, Mise install, Mise run setup. Okay. And you try those commands. I'm seeing npm errors. Is that expected? So leave a note in spec. Please about why. Let's see. Let's try a Mise run dev and see if that'll work. Mise run dev. Oh yeah, I know this one. Mise use npm trunk.io launcher at latest. Mise install. Back, let's see, is this the same? Failed to install. Oh yeah, so I gotta try, this is the trunk bit, so let me see if there is a like a quick start here, because I think there's like a little trick to get this going. Yeah, I don't want that though. I want code quality. Yeah, there we go. Initialize trunk. npm. Add trunk to, let's see. This is going off trunk 1.25.0. Okay. Let's see if the mise.toml is going to just get rid of that for now. Okay. Mise install. Cool. Okay, so now there's a bot that is in my other Discord server, which is the second iteration on my bot. So cool, I've got a dev. Let's see what else I might do here. README for this guy is what I want. Cool. Mise trust, Mise install, Mise run setup. Dev, okay, sure. Let's try a build, a start, and a clean. Mise run build. Cool. Mise run starts. We got this one coming up. Mise run clean. And we just get rid of that on the coverage. Okay, so we have a coverage. Do we have like a Mise run test maybe? I don't want this one anymore. I want this guy. Okay, and we can get rid of the Mise toml. Let's see. Okay, so Mise run test unit integration and coverage. Mise run test. Mise add TS. Mise add just TS. I think maybe. Yes. So I presume it'll take like a little bit of getting used to for people to like, oh, I'm used to having to remember all this stuff. But you don't have to in this one. We just Mise run tests. If I may, but I am using it. Mise. See. Let's see if that'll work, actually. I think it will. Okay, for the meeting. Anyway, still some stuff to dial in, and it's hard to just drop this into a secondary repo, unfortunately. But let's try. Let's see what else we got. And then yeah, the other like a handy thing can be Mise tasks. What's this? And then yeah, so this has like all of my globals, and then it also has like what I've got in here. If I go that Mise tasks. Mise tasks. So now I have all of these. So it's not interfering with my other one. I need to like, I would like to get it to a point where I can just drop it into a repo and it can insta work, but we will see. Yeah, Mise and check we have here. There we go. Cool. Mise, let's see, format. Cool, thanks. Mise integration. Okay, now Mise unit. Mise vet. Let's check the types. So that like yeah, so perhaps that's like maybe a little bit of a decent idea of where this setting, where it's like just run Mise tests. This is everything you could possibly do in the repo. It all works the same across all of us. It all works the same in CI/CD. And then we all get the same like linting, formatting, et cetera, which is the standard that like we all agreed on before we started working on the repo kind of thing. And I have successfully yapped for 50 minutes straight. So I guess if anybody, I'll pause again for any, I don't know, thoughts, comments, questions, concerns. No, nothing? Is it a good idea or a bad idea? What do you guys think?
Dead silence.
Yeah, I'm quite curious if you guys have ever ran into like, because my usual issue with these tools is that they can be kind of wonky, and if they're behaving wonkily, it doesn't make people want to use them, and it just makes them annoyed. So have you guys ever tried to have something that's doing like code quality audits and ever like gotten annoyed at it or had like a good experience with it? Just checked out, huh? Yeah, that's fair. Well, yeah, I'm quite interested to see if this let's see, successfully build trunk versions. Interesting. So his are working.
I've never been a fan of like automated code audits, but I think from playing around a little bit, we're like just running codecs with custom prompts that like make much more sense in the context of your own code base. Those results were pretty interesting. Because they're like much more about what is important to the code base than like generic linting things. Which, yeah, I don't know. I think there's like a lot to explore there, especially if you're like able to have the agent run, interact with your system for real the same way it does while you're developing. I think that for code review could be pretty interesting.
Well, yeah, so not only that, but there for Claude Code and Codex, you can use those in CI. So I could, or I plan to set this up such that like, so the annoying part was like, if something's weird about my environment, I can't actually get anything merged because it always rejects because these the code quality checks are dumb and they don't know when they need to make an exception. But so instead of fully rejecting the PR, what I can do is just like dump the failed CI check as output and then at Claude and be like, hey, what's wrong with this? Make us a new issue if we need one. Then like ping the person that just tried to push this on Slack and then get started working on a skeleton of a PR that's going to resolve this new issue to hopefully like get the whole thing into as close to full auto as I can get it. If I can just Mise build feature, that's kind of the ideal state that I'd like to get this to. I'm not sure I can get it all the way there, but I think I can get it close. Which is also nice because like or like Manuel and Kay, you guys are both working on the same repo and you both are competent agent developers. Do you guys ever like run into the problem of like too much slop is getting pushed or like my agent is not doing the same thing Manuel's is kind of thing?
All the time. Too much slop is getting pushed.
Exactly.
No, I think that's actually one of the key things that has Manuel working on this type of CI/CD issue is like, can we get in the loop and fix that?
Yeah, to me, that seems like getting the agent to generate code is not a problem. Getting that code to eventually be not slop and good is something you can do on your machine with enough like wrangling, sure. But once you get that wrangled to where you can push good code consistently, how can I trust any of that? Because I can't, no shot I'm reading every line of code that these agents are going to put in this repo. So how do I kind of get around that? Well, the step one is like your agent and my agent have to be the same. And one of the cool things about Mise is because it's just running scripts, I can do something like Mise agent Yikes, or Mise agent Manuel, or Mise agent Kevin. And what that can do is just, it can, if there's like a .claude MD here, or if there's an agents MD, or like you have something that's got repo specific stuff, if there's one that's in version control that has the ones that we all think are good for this repo, and then there's ones that you're experimenting with right now today, then you can be like Mise agent sync, and then you can ping Kevin on Slack and be like, yo, check out this new like command that I'm playing with here, this little workflow I'm using. And then Kevin, you can go like Mise agent config Manuel, and that will like temporarily overwrite your config, provided that yours is like synced in the last state that you liked it. And you guys can just sort of like hot swap between each other's agent configs until you arrive at like, okay, this is the one that we should both be using when we're working on this part of the code base today. And then you can sync that to version control. Is kind of the general thought that I have. But the sort of the linchpin is like, I need this ephemeral environment because I don't want to ruin your config in your tool chain. But I also want us to not have to like go at human speed to try and figure out, oh, like what is the prompt we should send to this agent that we typed with our meat fingers that worked for this one thing. Like that's, you know, that's very 2024 ancient history. So I'd like to get away from that if I can. And I think this is the direction I'm currently exploring to try and get to that direction, essentially. But yeah, I guess Mise and Trunk and Slate add as while I'm at it. Just a configuration via npm was already available in your system. Okay, it's annoying, and when I run the stuff, it still like yells at me. Is that fine? These commands are running anyway. Is there a way you can that up, or is it because I also have available Mise they're fighting? Yeah, I guess we'll do a quick Slate plug there, and then I'll do a quick plug for I'm doing a thing on Wednesdays over in my server that's very reminiscent of this, in which like I'm trying to like run around and find people that are like building like cool tools or you know, doing something interesting related to the optimization of the use of agents to get to be working in code bases, and trying to go like hassle them and do little meetup things. So if you did not get enough AI in action in your life, I'll forward the one of the Luma events into the AI in action channel so people can come through next week. I thought I had a plan for next week for who I was going to grab. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, if you have something and you don't, if there is too many people signed up to run AI in action and you also need a Wednesday, feel free to let me know, and I can see if there's something we can set up for you. But yeah, you know, if you're interested in more meetups like this, then there's a second one available for you. Yeah, we've got 1 minute. Anything?
I'm good. I wonder if is K-Ball still here? Usual host. I think he's gone, right? Because otherwise he would have said
Sorry,
like, "Oh, we're at time."
I'm here.
No? He's there.
I got Slack sniped. Somebody sent me some
No.
requests for
Oh,
things
no.
that I'm trying to deal with. Awesome. Thank you, Yikes, for jumping in last minute. And thank you we do have a volunteer for next week, so we've got that figured out. I do want to once again encourage you all to sign up with topics you're interested in, request speakers, do whatever we can to get some of this lined up ahead of time, because you know, I appreciate Yikes and Manuel just jumping in when they jump in, but it's nice to know ahead of time if you're going to be on sharing something. And often we can get it spares us that like first 15 minutes of setup time. Cool. Thanks everybody. Happy Friday.
GG. Yeah, check out